We're gonna start off the workout with warm-ups, of course. So as you guys see, I'm doing toe touches and I performed around 15 reps of those. Make sure you're keeping your back neutral and lengthening your hamstrings as you go down. So don't try to force the movement, but instead just try to lengthen your hamstrings and let your back go down. So after my toe touches, I move on to side lunges, as you can see. So I perform around 10 to 12 reps of lunges per side. As you can see in the video, I basically lunge towards the side, hence side lunge, and I press up from there. So basic gist is to keep your back neutral and press up with your entire foot, so your pressure point is balanced throughout the feet, and you just press up from there. You can feel your glutes getting fired up if you do so. Next thing what I'm doing here is I'm basically just holding the movement for a few seconds to open up my hip flexors again. This one is one of the yoga poses. I'm not quite sure of the name, but if you guys know the name of it, then just let me know down in the comments. But again, I find this to be really helpful when I want to open up my hip flexors. So these two stretches are a must in my warm-up routine. While holding that pose, I just tilt towards the right and the left to open up my right and left hip flexors accordingly, and I find it to be really helpful. So if you haven't tried it already, I think you guys need to really try this movement and add it to your routine. Moving on to the actual part of the workout, we're just gonna start off with one warm-up set of hip thrusts. So I like to do one warm-up set of hip thrusts whenever I am planning to do hip thrusts or doing hip thrusts as part of my routine. So I just like to do one warm-up set of 15 reps. As you can see over here, I have kept my chin tucked in, my core is braced, and my feet are glued to the floor. I am pressing up with my glutes and keeping my spine neutral. That is very important when you're doing hip thrust. Beginning with my first working set of hip thrust. As you can tell, I have just added plates and I'm performing them for 15 reps again. As you can see, I have used a mat or a yoga mat per se for padding, so just make sure you're using some sort of a padding under the barbell so you don't bruise your hips, because that's not a cute scene, and seriously, just use some sort of padding. Bruised hips are not great, so just a heads up. Anyway, moving on to my second set. As you can tell, again, you can see the setup a bit better, but I've used different angles for you to understand how it looks from different angles. I hope that helps. But yeah, as you can tell, my chin is tucked in and I'm pushing up with my glutes. So I like to think of it as I like to press up with my glute and hamstring, so that way I don't feel it in my lower back. I try to push up through there and make sure it's at complete lockout at the end, that's parallel to the floor. If I stumble a bit or anything, just bear with me because I'm still getting used to the whole concept of voiceover. So yeah, just a heads up. But anyway, this is my third set, I believe. I'm not really keeping track, but I think this is my third set, and again I've used a different angle so you guys can see better. But if you guys have noticed, I keep adding weight as the sets go on. So my fourth set is usually the highest, and I just keep adding weight and lowering the reps accordingly. So everything will be down in the description box in case you guys are wondering or haven't caught up on anything. You can just check the description box down below. Now I like to do this little extra thing for the last set of mine. So basically for the last rep of my very last set, I like to hold that rep for 3 seconds at the top, as you can see what I'm doing right now, and it's just a little extra burn at the end. It's not necessary, but would make you feel a little extra oomph or give you that glute pump. So if you're looking for that, I think you should just add that at the end. Moving on to the second exercise. Now I know what you guys will be thinking, like Saarah, no, we're gonna skip that exercise, but please don't do that. If you're gonna follow my workout, I want you to follow each and every part of it, which means you guys will have to follow performing Bulgarian split squats, because I swear to God, like this one and I believe hip thrusts are like one of the two most performed glute exercises I have been doing for years, and I swear by them. So honestly, I have really seen results performing this exercise over the years. So you guys need to add this to your routine if you haven't already, but don't skip on them and don't sleep on them is my point. You want to make sure to keep a slightly wider stance and a forward leaning torso in order for you to target your glutes optimally. So as you can see, my torso is quite forward leaning and I've kept a wider stance than I usually would in order to target my glutes. I'm just showing you guys how I initiate the exercise in itself. So I first get into position and then I lift off the dumbbells instead of first keeping the dumbbells in my hand and then getting into position. I just see a lot of people doing that and they end up losing their balance way before they need to and don't even end up completing the exercise. So don't do that. If you guys perform it this way, you're able to get in more reps. Moving on to our third exercise, which is RDLs, and this one is like a love-hate relationship for me, but I still perform them because I find them to be really effective for my glute hamstring tie-in. So chef's kiss nonetheless. I really like performing this workout. I mean this exercise, even though it really burns in the butt, pun intended, but yeah. What you want to do is push your glutes back as you lower the weights down. So basic principle, or I like to think of it, is I am basically pushing my glute towards this imaginary wall at the back and then lowering the weight down. So imagine there is just a wall behind your back and your main aim is to push your glutes so that your torso lowers down naturally instead of you forcing your torso down. Now this exercise will also lengthen your hamstrings in the process, and if you don't want to target your hamstrings majorly, you just need to stop right below knee level. So this is the main difference between RDLs and stiff legs. If you want to target your glutes more than your hamstrings, RDLs, precisely performing them, which is right below knee level, will target your glutes more than your hamstrings. Another few key pointers to remember is make sure you keep your chin tucked in and your spine neutral at all times. Now you also want to make sure to really slow down the movement during the lowering phase, which means when you're lowering down right below your knees, you want to take a good few seconds before you come right back up. Good 1 to 2 seconds lowering phase would be ideal in my opinion. I have gone a bit fast in the clip, but I would recommend slowing down. We're moving on to abductions for our fourth exercise, and I'm just using the abduction machine at my gym. My back is planted onto the seat overall, so I've just made sure to keep my spine neutral and my glutes glued to the seat. This exercise is pretty simple and self-explanatory simply because it's done on a machine. You don't really need to think much about it. Just want to keep your body glued to the seat, and in layman terms, you just need to push outward. You should see the things we do, baby. Last but not the least, moving on to the very last exercise, which is performing cable kickbacks. So I like to use the cable attachments, and I have bought this separately on Amazon, so I would link it down below if you guys are interested. Otherwise you can make do with using some of the smaller gym handles that usually is available with your gym's cable area. You could use that, or you could just separately get cable attachments like I did. But anyway, as you guys can see over here, I'm just leaning a bit forward and I have basically planted both my arms onto something stable, just because I don't want to move around my upper body and my torso. So I have kept those pretty much stable. A few points to remember before you start kicking back. Like I mentioned, make sure your upper body is stable and isn't moving around, and the other leg, that's your leg that's planted onto the floor, is stabilized as well. Make sure that isn't moving around when you're trying to kick back. Your basic principle is just kicking back your working foot and putting your glutes in a shortened position, which is what the exercise is doing over here. Now if you're a beginner, you can perform the exercise exactly how I've shown it over here, keeping the knee slightly more bent and pushing the leg back. If you're slightly more advanced or find this to be very easy, you can actually keep your legs much straighter. So just keep a very slight bend in your knee, but straighter than what I've shown over here, and then kick back. That's how I usually perform my kickbacks if you've seen my Instagram stories, but for ease of beginners, I've just shown it this way. That's the end of my glute workout, and I hope you guys enjoyed this glute workout. If you guys do happen to try it, make sure you guys let me know how it was and how badly did it boy, oh boy, did it kill your glutes. Make sure to send this over to your friends as well who are trying to build a peach or just trying to get fit at the gym. And here's some of my outfit details if you guys are interested. Apart from that, if you guys want to catch some other shenanigans of my life, you guys can obviously follow me on Instagram. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.